Bam. There you go.
There it is.
Hey guys, good morning. Sorry, I'm
Good
late.
morning.
Mr. Chris,
How are you?
congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks.
I love the
Really
smell
proud
of freshly off-gassing chemicals. No matter how much my wife tells me they're bad for me, I can't stop sniffing them.
Of course. Yeah.
God, this thing smells good. Brand new car smell.
New media,
That's
man.
it.
I love it.
6th edition. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really proud of it.
And if you can't read, you could get high. It'll take you back to the magic markers of the 2nd grade. God, this thing feels good. You guys do that on purpose? Is that part of the marketing? You spray it with something like new car smell or something?
There's a 30% premium to add a toxic smell.
Worth it. Worth it.
Stand
What is
out.
that? There's something called like scent therapy or something, or you make your gym smell like vanilla or something, and then when people come in, they tie it to the smell or something. What's that called? Smell.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just know you're supposed to bake cookies when you're selling a house because it makes it feel homey. So when you're presenting data, you want like a really pungent chemical smell so people don't sleep.
I don't know why I like it so much. I wonder if that means I'm flawed.
No, I like it too. Well, I guess that's not good company to be. It's gonna validate you, but I don't think so. I think I did no harm.
Huge congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You guys must be getting rich off of this.
Yeah. No, that's a very expensive piece to put together, and we share it for free. Even the shipping. I mean, I don't even ask what it costs anymore because every time I do, I cringe. But it's just something that we do to help the industry every year.
And it's available as a PDF.
Yeah.
And is it only? It's not only available for Two Brain business members, but it's
Everybody.
open.
Yeah, absolutely. Like twobrainbusiness.com/data. You get it. It's free, and we give it to anybody. In fact, even people who have other business coaching companies will get this thing and then do like episodes about it, talking about the data. So it's for everybody.
Yeah, I remember last year when it came out. Quickly, there were podcasts all over, including Don was quoting it, and all sorts of people dig into this. And this is the kind of stuff I love. I was actually, Don was recently on the CrossFit podcast, and this is the kind of stuff I wanted to hear him talk about. I like it. You know, I wanted to know like, hey, we've doubled our gyms in Guam, or, you know what I mean? I just love data. Do you know what I mean? And there are some really positive, what I think are positive moments in this. By the way, this is the state of the industry report. Tell us what this is. So I don't know, the largest aggregation of boutique gym data anywhere.
Yeah, you got it, man. Very succinct. So we work with different partners in the software field to pull client data anonymously, and we publish how gyms are actually doing. So instead of doing a survey on, how many members do you have and how much money do you make, we look at the actual numbers and report the truth. And then what we can do is we can highlight, what are the best practices? How many members should you be aiming for? Right, all the way down to what are the most popular group times by where you live in the world. And this will help gyms make decisions. And then, coaching helps them implement the change.
Sorry, a little housekeeping here. Laugh out loud. Sevan likes data when it works for his echo chamber. Tank, seriously, can we fight later? This is like a real guest.
This is everybody.
God, this is going to be a real show. Can you just say nice things for this one? Chris is over.
Just
you know what
chill,
I mean?
Tank. Just
Yeah, like don't point to the spots where the dog peed in the room. Chris is at the house. He only comes over once a year, please. Okay, sorry. Wait. And Chris, you're the founder of the largest gym consulting company in the world, Two Brain Business. Been around. What year was it founded?
Well, I started coaching other gym owners in 2012. We founded Two Brain in 2016 to kind of formalize everything that we had learned from the gyms that we had worked with by that point, and made it a formal program. So 10 years. And
you found your first CrossFit, or your first gym. You owned your first gym in what year?
2005 I opened. I've been a personal trainer since 96. So my gym actually just turned 20 about a month ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then you had the fortunate moment in your life as a gym owner where you ran into a mentor. There was someone in your community who was very successful, and he helped you like see the light and start guiding you on the straight path. What year was that?
That was 2009.
2009. Okay.
Yeah. One of his first commitments that I had to make was that I would write every day what I was learning and the mistakes that I made and how to do it better. And to kind of take it a step further, I just made that personal journal public. And we've been doing that every day since. But now, we get to learn from the best in the industry, and it's not just my humble little gym's experience.
So in 2009, you started a blog. You're like, hey, and that's smart. I feel like a lot of people who are highly productive do that. Everything in their life, they're finding out a way to make it part of they're not, you weren't compartmentalizing your life. You're like, hey, if I'm doing this, I might as well make it available and make it another branch of my business. Even though maybe you weren't consciously thinking of it, that's what it became.
Yeah, the first 4 years, it was just love letters to myself, really, as reminders of, Chris, don't do this again. Don't screw this up again. Do this. And then the CrossFit A blog actually found it and started sharing some of the different posts every day. I don't know. Very few people remember the A blog.
You're talking about the affiliate blog, like on.
Yeah.
And then there was an affiliate channel. Yeah, the whole thing. Okay.
The whole thing. Yeah. And so that other people started reading it and asking for the tools that I was making to fix my gym. And then, asking for advice, and then calling me up at the gym, and then, et cetera, inviting me down to whatever their little group of fitness owners was to speak. And everything just kind of blew up from there. But instead of just giving people random advice based on their particular circumstance, we started just kind of like codifying things into a set of best practices that all gyms could benefit from. And that's where the Two Brain Mentorship began. It was around 2018, I think, when 2017, because I was still working for CrossFit and sitting at the cafe in Santa Cruz there on the corner. I forget what it's called.
Ugly Mug. Is that the one?
No, it's a woman's name. Anyway, just around from the gas station. But anyway, we were sitting there, and at the time, some of the other people at HQ were like, what's the number one thing that we can do to help affiliates without becoming a franchise? And I said, well, if you just collect data from everybody and publish it, it'll help us all make better decisions, but you don't have to tell us what to do with it. And the COO at the time, Bruce, said, that's a great idea, but we're never going to do that. And so, I was sad about it. And then I just realized like I had an opportunity to do it myself. And the first year it was data from about 400 gyms that I was working with as a mentor. And then the next year we started partnering with different software companies and getting giant data sets. And now we work with Wodify and Kilo because they give us extremely clean, valuable data and smart insights along with it.
And like you said, an important part is that it's not from surveys. The data is actually from the software management, gym software management headquarters. So it's accurate and real. It's not someone being like, well, I want 200 members, but I only have 50. I'm going to write down I have 200.
I don't want to.
You mean there are people like that out there that will give advice or lie about their metrics? That's weird.
We have millions of potential listeners for this podcast. Millions.
Yeah, exactly. Let's lie about data.
Millions.
It's so easy to convince people with false numbers and claims on the internet now that it's more important than ever that we get to the truth, and that's what we're just trying to do.
What's interesting? So you started this in 2009, the blog that you made available to the public. And what's interesting? So you didn't do that with building a business in mind. You gave it away free, and obviously there's a vulnerability to it and an authenticity to it, right? And since you're not leveraging it to make money, you can feel vulnerable and authentic without worrying about like gaining or losing anything. And it's interesting because I've had my son recently start a vlog on YouTube just with showing his daily training and what it's like being a homeschool kid. And in the beginning, he was like, hey, how do we make money off of this? And I'm like, hey, dude, if you want to make money, that's not the way to do it. No. Like, hey, let's find something else. But it is so interesting, even at that age, he wants to see what he's going to get from it. And I think that's normal. Like every kid wants to set up a lemonade stand and he's not concerned about providing cold drinks for someone or the best lemonade. You start thinking, okay, what am I going to buy? How many cups do I have to sell to buy a skateboard? And it just, I don't want to say that way doesn't work, but it sure is much more rewarding to do it your way.
Well, I think you guys are living examples of doing it that way too. I got to tell you, like this podcast is a lifeboat for a lot of CrossFit affiliates, especially through some very turbulent waters. It's a common gathering place and touchstone. And when you started it, It was before the troubles began.
Before the big close down?
Yeah, but and you guys just kept doing it throughout. And people keep coming back, and it's not because they just want to hear the gossip or here's what's going to happen. It's because this is where the CrossFit community goes. And the only other, common ground that I have run into on repeat anyway is like the Rogue Invitational. And I was there again in Aberdeen last weekend. And this is kind of like, it's like a refugee camp for the fittest people on the planet. And, you get the sense that like, oh, the CrossFit community is actually alive and well, but I don't get that sense many other places. And this weekend I'm going to Cleveland for the CrossFit Midwest Affiliate Summit. I hope to see it live there. There's 50 people, hosted by Bill and Stacey Russell, very OG. But you guys,
very OG. So OG. That
yeah.
Cleveland group is, wow, they've been around forever. Is that gym 20 years old?
No, but they're close. They're close.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe 17 or 15, 16, 17, something like that. Yeah. But, I think you guys have done a great job of like kind of keeping the community together until it evolves into its next, and maybe more permanent form.
Why are you going to that, by the way? I know you're very, very busy. I'm glad to hear you're going to it, but why are you going to that?
Bill asked me.
Oh, cool. Oh,
yeah.
That's really cool.
I mean, the reality is that when you try to work through HQ and you try to set up going to these affiliates, they want a contract, and it's very bureaucratic. Like it's hard to actually speak to the right person. And then, sometimes they just like forget to email us back. That's happened, or they'll take payment and like no mention of Two Brain or anything else. So what we have found is just, do the right thing for affiliate owners. And when they ask, either I'll go or we'll send a closer mentor to speak for them.
I think Greg's going to be there also. He invited me to go, and then I was planning on going, and then I have all this family coming into town. So last minute I told him, hey dude, I better do the right thing and stay with my family. Now that you're going to be there and Greg is going to be there, and I know that that's an OG gym, I'm getting a little FOMO. That's going to be, yeah.
But you're not going.
Yeah, I'm not going. No, this is, let me ask you this before we dig into the State of the Industry report. There was a post you made that I know Dave addressed on his weekend review, and you said that 10,000 gyms have, I think you said 10,000 gyms are no longer affiliated. And he was like, hey, how did Chris get that information? Like, why is he saying 10,000 gyms? And I tried to explain to him what I thought it was you were saying, where you got that number. But can you share with us where you got that number?
Yeah, if you look at like the dawn of time, how many affiliates there have been and, how many affiliates there are right now, and you do a simple count, right? So like you can scrape this off the CrossFit website historically just by going back to, what is it, like the web archive, the Wayback Machine or whatever, and you peel like CrossFit names. And what you'll see over time is that sadly, like more than half of the affiliates who have become affiliates all time are gone,
Okay. So that's what I was trying to explain to him. You're saying it's an all-time number. It's not.
Not recent. No, all time.
Okay. So I think he misinterpreted it. He thought you were saying there were 10, like, on Monday there were 20,000 and on Tuesday there were 10,000. But you're saying since the affiliation became available in whenever 2003 or 4 or 5, whenever that was, to the present, 10,000 gyms have come and gone.
Yep.
And that's probably a low estimate.
Yeah. In fact, in other places I've said higher numbers, and, I probably didn't explain it very well. It's not people who are just like de-affiliating out of anger in the last 2 years. That's not the case. It's first-time entrepreneurs who are passionate about fitness, and they think, I just want to do CrossFit. I just want to expose people to CrossFit. I just want to help people doing CrossFit. And they didn't fail because they lost passion or because they lost faith in the method or the model or HQ or Dave or anybody else. They lost out and they left the industry because they couldn't figure out how to make their business work. And it always comes down to money. And that's the only reason people really quit fitness. And so, when we say things like over time, 10,000 affiliates have come and gone, what we're really saying is that this movement created 10,000 entrepreneurs who ultimately failed at entrepreneurship. And that's the really sad part to me.
The book, this year's book, is extremely, extremely positive. and lots of great stuff, but there are a few scary pages in there. And a scary page obviously is the retention page.
Yeah.
And I guess we could go there now. The thing is there's the retention page is page 38. I don't know if you have easy access to it, Caleb. But I remember Craig Howard sharing this with me. I can't remember how many members he said he had, 400 or 600. And I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And he says, yeah, but it's a lot of work because when you have 600 members and, if 1 or 2% leave every single month, you have to get those members back. And the amount of work it takes, I can't imagine having to bring onboard, chase 15 leads and then onboard half of them every single month.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you look at like how many leads you get and how many show up and how many actually sign up from the other data here, if you're running a gym with 600 people and you are losing, 3% a month, which would be very, very good, right? According to the averages here, especially.
So that's 18. That's 18 people.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Let's say it's 18 people you're losing a month or whatever. That means you've got to replace those 18 people just to stay where you are. Well, if only, 5 out of every 30 leads actually signs up, then you got to multiply that 18 by 6 to figure out how many leads you need to get. And that's, 60, 40, 108 leads a month just to stay the same. Like you, in fact, become a marketing machine. And unfortunately, a lot of people see Craig, who is exceptional, right? Like Craig is a unicorn. They see him and they think, well, if he did it, I could do it. They underestimate how hard this actually is. And they used to do the same thing with Bergeron and Jeremy Teal's gym and like, 300 members seems easy, right? They make it look easy, so it seems easy. And then they open up this big gym, just like what they see at CFNE and just like, what they see at Craig's gym. And well, where are they? Why aren't they coming in the door? And then they've got these big expenses, and that's eventually what drives them bankrupt. And it's nobody's fault because nobody explicitly from HQ told them to do that, but nobody told them not to either. And so our goal with this guide is just to reveal what's working instead of pushing an agenda on people.
And so if you have 100, if you have 100, and let's say you have 100 leads a month that you get, let's say you're fortunate enough to get that many leads. And then each one of them is 3 phone calls because you don't get them on the first 2 times.
Yeah, that's right.
And then so now you're making 300 phone calls that month. And one of them is taking you at least a half an hour. So that's 50 hours a month you're spending on the phone with the 30 people you get on the phone.
Yeah, like nobody signed up for that.
Or the 18 people you get on the phone. Yeah, that's crazy.
Or to have the skill set to actually be able to bring them in, because that's a whole other ball game too. Like picking up the phone and being like, "Hey, Sevan, we saw that you signed up," and you're like, "No, thank you," and you have no means to try to go through that conversation to get your foot to step through the door. That's like a whole other ball game. And then to be able to duplicate that over in a system or a process that you can rely on is also a whole other can of worms. So like you could see, like, it's not only just chasing the churn, but it's like, how do you make the calls? How do you have the sales script? How do you get people through the door? Like all of those pieces of the puzzle have to seamlessly come together. But to Chris's point, like people were asking, is that what's called churn? Yeah, that's churn. So if you take churn and you have it at 5%, let's say, not employee turnover, but just members coming and going. So if you have a 5% churn, but you're only able to get 3% in, you're actually shrinking every month by 2%. Yeah. And that becomes like the deadly, like slippery slope.
And that was the case last year. What we saw in the data last year was the gyms were getting an average of 7 people in every month, which sounds amazing.
That does sound amazing.
They were losing 5. And so, their net growth was +2 on average, which just, it's not enough. I mean, the cost of everything's going up. So if you're gaining 2 members a month, growth, that's 24 a year. And then your landlord says, I got to charge $500 more a month. Like your entire year is wiped out for business growth in one email. So you really have to be like better at retention and client recruitment. And both of those come down to coaching in different ways.
There was a generalization in one section of the book. It's early on, and it basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, feel free to tweet this, but the first 50 members, you should be working the gym yourself.
Yeah.
It's your small gym.
Yeah.
Then 100 members, is and then the gym should pay for itself at 50 members, and that at 100 members you should get some part-time help. And I'm guessing when you get that part-time help, some part-time coaching, that's when you start really focusing on these other things. And then at 150 members, you get a full-time coach.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great rule.
Conventional wisdom. Okay, great rule of thumb.
Yeah, that's the unconventional wisdom. And we just highlight those numbers to give people guideposts. Like there's people who are doing different types of gyms in different areas who say, I can't pay the rent on 50 members. Well, maybe your gym is too big. And so while these aren't like hard and fast rules, they are good guiding, goals to hit. I was lucky enough that when I signed up for CrossFit, even though the message board was often misleading, Greg was in there too. And people would say like, when should I expand my gym? And they were talking about, how do I go from 500 square feet to 1,000, And he would say like, well, when people are doing burpees on the sidewalk, maybe you guys remember that. And I got to hear that, but the people who joined 2010 and later, they never got that message. And instead, the messages they were getting were, look at this class of 30 at CrossFit Central. Look at this class. Wow, 50 people at CFNE this weekend. Amazing. And so they figured like, wow, I'm going to have to accommodate these crowds. I need 12,000 square feet minimum. And unfortunately, like that broke them.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I really like that rule of thumb, because then you can go like, okay, if I hit 40, I'm doing great. If I hit 60, I'm not doing. I'm flirting with disaster. And when someone says, hey, I can't pay the rent with 15 members, then obviously you've chosen the wrong location, or you're in the wrong city, or you're not charging enough. But there are some things that you have to look at, right? Yeah, because it's not going to be sustainable already because of the obstacles that come up over the hill in the future, like retention. If you need to have 150 members, I'm sure there are gyms like that. They need 150 members to break even.
Yeah, there's many, unfortunately. And usually the goal of having this is to get you to truth, like just to accept like, okay, something's off here. I've got 100 people. I'm barely breaking even. I'm trading membership with coaches. I'm not sleeping. I'm working harder for the same money. The only people who are making money is like the landlord and the government. What am I doing here? And that the whole point of this guide is to force you to ask the question, what am I doing here and what can I do better? And it took me years and years to get to that point. I have a really big ego, and, I had to completely fail before I was ready to accept help. The point of the guide is for you to say like, whoa, I'm way off the average here. What needs to change? And then start investigating like what can change. But until you start asking yourself what needs to change, or until you're actually honest with yourself, there's really no hope for improvement.
And a question I've asked you many times, and it's funny now it's finally sinking in why. I've asked you many times on the show, should someone get a mentor before they open their gym, or should they wait a couple of years? And now I fully get it, because I have a really good example. If you don't understand these things, or have a mentor who can explain these things to you from the onset, you will be 3 years down the road and be like, shit, I have to move locations.
Yeah. I have to fire that guy, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to take I've taken 7 steps forward, and now I'm going to have to take 7 steps back.
Yeah. I mean, every mistake that you make at startup is probably going to cost you $100,000 and 3 months to fix. So if your pricing is wrong at startup, you're going to work your first year like for no money. If you hire the wrong people at startup, it's going to take you except you got to replace them and then have the hard conversation when it's tough. Like if you rent the wrong space, a year into it, you're going to be like, how do I get out of this lease? Right. A lot of people listening to this will immediately say, oh crap, that's me. Well, if I had solved those with you 3 months before you opened, where would you be right now? And, in the past, when you've asked me that question, I've given you kind of like a non-committal, yeah, you probably should response. But the reality is that when we work with gyms or talk to gyms even before they open, I mean, a year down the track, they are so solid and they're helping so many people. Like it's complete. They're playing a completely different game than everybody who's been in this for 10 years and they're still struggling. Like those gyms are just going to grow and grow. They're good. They're not fragile. You've got affiliates or other gyms even who are 7-8 years in, one rent increase, right? One neighborhood gym, one coach leaving, 10 clients taking off and they're done. Like that's how close to the line they are. And I never want to see that happen.
Yeah, I know you had a millionaire club, people who've gotten their net worth over $1 million. What's the size of that club now?
76.
76.
Wow.
Yeah. All the plaques are right outside my office.
And going back to the beginning thing too, real quickly, is just the fact that a lot of gym owners and people in the fitness space lead with this. I didn't get in it to make money. And although that's great, you're passionate, you got into it to help people. The only way you're going to be able to help people and continue to help people and help more people is if you actually make money. And so just to piggyback off, not only all the data and not only saving all the time by understanding the roadblocks and being able to have the solutions to them before you encounter them, it's also going to be the fact that you're going to have somebody there that's going to help you say, hey, it's okay to have a higher price. It's okay to be able to lean into it in the sense of it's a business. So you could run it like a business. You could have upsells. You could sell semi-private. You could sell private coaching. You could charge people more for the diet plan that you're writing out for them. And that is okay and acceptable. And in fact, it's your only way to survive. And so there's this really, especially in the CrossFit space, because so many people don't get into it for money, right? You don't open one of these things up and go, oh, I'm going to be a multi-millionaire next year. It's like, forget it. But you do need to lead with that mindset of like, okay, it is a business and I need to run it like a business and I need to be able to have the systems in place and the pricing in place that will allow me to survive.
It reminds me of when people come to your gym and they're like, well, I don't want to get too bulky. I don't want to gain all these muscles. like that's just what happens, right? Like none of us started working out so that we could win the CrossFit Games. None. We were inspired by CrossFit Games athletes, just like, a lot of business owners are inspired by these leaderboards. Every month we publish a leaderboard. Who's got the best revenue in the world? Not to make everybody else feel dumb, but to say like, hey, we're all mountain climbers and these are the people who are summiting Everest, like for inspiration, here's what's possible. And, the reason I almost quit fitness before I found a mentor and started writing that blog was because I could just see a string of endless days ahead of me where I was working 14, 15 hours, missing my kids and not making any more money. And I could not see a point where things were going to get easier. I was going to make enough money to pay for the kids' shoes and the groceries, or I'd ever be able to retire from this. And so I thought, well, hey, if I'm going to have to get out of the industry at some point, I'm best to do it right now and start building up a pension. So when people actually become millionaires, that's just a signal to us that they're successful enough that they can do this for as long as they want, put clothes on the kids' back, and retire someday when they're ready.
While doing their passion, while helping people.
While doing their passion, yeah.
Totally rewarding gig.
Yeah. CrossFit created that vehicle. I mean, it's amazing the effect that CrossFit has had on fitness and health. The most inspiring thing that I've ever taken from CrossFit is CrossFit launched 30,000 small businesses, name the top two things that our countries need right now. And I'm talking about North America, Canada, but this could apply to any country. We need better health and we need small business. It's hard to find another example of both.
Hey, let me ask you this. Now the company's been out of Greg's hand. It was run by a single man, for I don't know, its first 15 years, and for the last 6 years, it's now being run by private equity. Do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think that they're doing a good job? No. And do you think that they ever could do a good job under that there's a chance private equity could do a good job with it? No. And the incentives are different between a founder and private equity, right? Like when Greg started out, he had a mission. He's mission driven. The mission of private equity is to increase returns to shareholders. And so I should have said, like, are they doing a good job? Well, no, because they're not returning big returns to shareholders. But if the company was growing and it was making more profit and they were returning shares to shareholders, we would have to say they're doing a good job because that's their mission. Could they do that without improving health and fitness and spreading CrossFit? Yeah, probably, probably not the way that Greg would do it, probably by selling their own apparel and equipment and, the stuff that Greg hated. But they're not doing either, and so I don't think that anybody looking at this objectively could say that private equity is doing a good job. Unfortunately,
what happens is when that private equity is not returning dividends to its shareholders, their model is let's get out. And so it's up for sale. And, CrossFit has now been up for sale, at least publicly acknowledged, for like a year.
Yeah.
Which is having a very negative effect on its affiliates. Affiliates are like, who's got my back here? Is it Sevan? Is it Rogue? Is it Two Brain? What are we supposed to do? Like, I'm living in this building and the landlord's selling it. Should I wait for the new landlord and hope things are better, or what? Or should I move? And, I think it's just one in a chain of mistakes, and hopefully there is a new buyer soon, but we've heard that forever.
We have a new date. It's November. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, November 11th. Yeah.
The thing with that I think is missing, and I'd be curious what you think is missing, is we had a very dogmatic leader who is very clear on the vision. Don't eat sugar, squat below parallel. You're responsible for your own health. Don't rely on anyone else for your own health. There were some really cancers and metabolic disease. I mean, these just some really ideas that were just constantly being pumped out, if not daily, weekly. There was no shortage of vision coming out. For me, that's, and that requires obviously intelligence and a strong comprehension of the material, but also passion and not being afraid, right? Because you're saying things that are, that pisses people off if you tell them, hey, you have to stop eating sugar, it causes cancer. Yeah. But I do think that it was that kind of radical. I don't think it's radical, but obviously some people think it's radical. I think it's that kind of vision that kept it churning. It kept the machine moving forward, because it was drawing in a crowd of people who, when that truth resonated with them, and it made them extremely passionate themselves and want to be part of. I remember Souza saying he got involved with CrossFit because it was a revolution. He wanted to be part of the revolution. Do you think that that's a fair, is that your assessment also of why it was so successful?
It was counterculture, and that was what attracted a lot of the early adopters, and that's what got attention. But underneath all that was a deeper and deeper and deeper truth. And now it does sound like I'm talking about a cult, but the more you dug into the CrossFit Journal, the application, the more it just made more and more sense, and there was a science backing, right? So instead of just attracting people to this new fad, which is usually what happens in the fitness industry, the people who came in actually just fell deeper in love with CrossFit. And if I go in Souza's group on School right now, some of the headlines are like, we are passionate about this method and we'll do it until the day that we die. Like, that's the kind of movement that CrossFit created. Can it inspire that without the founder? That's very tough. And especially if you're private equity and you bring, a lot of degrees and MBAs and stuff into the program, their job is to try and make this thing a machine. And you're not going to do that without the founder,
marketing versus truth seeking. Greg was always trying to seek the truth versus trying to sell people because Eminem's has a new rapper and that new rapper is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, by that argument, you could argue that MetFix is going to save CrossFit.
In regards to, it's another place that's digging for the truth.
Yeah. I mean, and it's getting back to the roots, right? Let's say what needs to be said. If it's controversial or if not, let's actually look at science. And let's actually ask our audience to step up and understand a little bit more. And so sometimes, even in MetFix, like Greg or whoever will say something that I don't quite understand, but I want to understand it. And so I'll think deeply about what it is, or I'll do some more research on my own. And, that demand to educate myself, become better, and solve the puzzle internally, that's very attractive to some of the smart people around in fitness. And I think that's why he's attracting a lot of CrossFit Flow Masters and a lot of big thinkers in the industry to the MetFix movement now. I don't think, MetFix has been simplified to the point where people can say things like constantly varied functional movement performed at high intensity yet, but I think they're getting there. And when they do, I think, MetFix will probably just take over and pull CrossFit up. The amazing thing is that it's not a competitor. it sits on top of the CrossFit L1, L2, and I think it could probably pull the whole movement along with it. That's my hope.
Yeah, that's very optimistic. Do you want to say something, Souza?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, just in general, like the evolution of education and the need for it inside the affiliates and the trainer wanting to move towards professionalism was kind of the seed that pushed CrossFit in a different direction in terms of what was being offered at the time. And you do have to have that continuing pull forward, just like you would, like, it's the same thing with like you, you know, whatever you program for the best, scale for the rest. So like, if you don't also have that same mindset in the way to level up the trainer, you do just kind of reach this plateau. And I remember, and Sevan, maybe you remember the guy's name, but he was a writer for Greg that did a lot of the science articles. Like this would have been 2018, 2019. I sat next to him at lunch during one of the DDCs. And I was like, man, I really love those, but I just can't make heads or tails of what the hell is going on with it. This was real early in Greg's, you know, science philosophy and understanding scientific method and stuff. And he goes, yeah, don't say that in front of Greg, because if I try to dumb this down, he's going to fire me. And I was like, okay, well, shit, then I'm screwed, because I'm going to have a hard time figuring this out. But that was kind of the point, is because then all of a sudden I'd read an article and I'd have to read 5 more articles to come back to that article just to start my understanding of it. And so that need is still very prevalent right now. And that's going to move you towards, again, having more professional coaches, but also like a differentiator. So just kind of piggybacking off what Chris is saying, whether it's something like a MetFix seminar where you're getting into the nitty gritty of the mechanisms of what the diet does internally to the body, or just getting more involved in terms of like how the healthcare system is being ran and knowing that you are a solution for that, are 2 things that we need to start thinking about as CrossFit trainers. And to your point, Sevan, and Chris's with the private equity, is if I'm trying to turn a dime into a dollar, I'm not really venturing off into investing into these other, you know, education pieces and moving all my trainers towards professionalism. I'm trying to turn my dime into a dollar. And that's just 2 completely different systems, different machines, and different paths.
It takes a lot of courage to, you know, fly in the face of what's convenient to say. And, you know, Greg's done that. You know, he, not just the Coca-Cola and the lawsuits with the NSCA and stuff, but at the time, 2001, to stand up and say nobody's working out hard enough, and you know you need to be doing the zone diet, you know, in the face of whatever the FDA was saying or Health Canada was saying.
He's saying less carbs, and the world is saying more carbs.
Yeah, and you know that was provocative.
That was huge. Yeah,
and it takes a lot of courage to say that and stick to it, even when it's the truth. You know, and it's very hard to be the one saying, hey, the emperor's not wearing any clothes. So when you say, is the current, you know, management of CrossFit doing a good job? It's tough to say, no, they're not. But, you know, you have to look at data. And that's why we do this report too. There are just so many people in the CrossFit community who are saying, you know, giving bad business advice because that's what's always been given, instead of saying, actually, the data proves something else. It's tough. And that's another reason that we publish this, so that the data can stand on its own, and it's not about me and whether you like me or don't.
You know, I'll use a religious analogy. The marketing is follow Jesus and accept Jesus as your savior and you go to heaven. And I'm like, oh, all right. But if you go to the practical application of religion, hey, love your neighbors, treat people like how you want to be treated, be honest. You start practicing some of that shit and you're like, wow, my life's getting better. I'm happier. I'm nicer. People are being nicer to me. And you can see, I just see that as a great analogy for like what CrossFit was. Like, hey, go in here and work out harder. Here's another thing. Don't eat sugar. As opposed to looking at some abstract goal. Hey, just practice these things. There's like really practical things that you can do that CrossFit gives you. And I feel like it's gone more towards the marketing, towards like, and for me, that doesn't work. I almost feel like I'm being coerced rather than being led. I don't want to be coerced. I want to be led.
That's interesting. You know, Jordan Peterson made a point in, I think, his second book of, you know, you don't have to go to church, but what are you going to replace it with? And I think what he was saying there is like Christianity, even if you don't believe in like the you can still adopt it as a model for living that will lead
Yes.
you to healthier, happier relationships, right?
Yes.
And I think sometimes we lose the baby with the bathwater there.
Yep.
And it's the same with fitness. Like, okay, you're not doing CrossFit, but if I go to any gym in my city now, there are bumper plates, they are doing squats, they're doing deadlifts, people are grinding themselves on the floor. Like, that shit did not happen when I started as a personal trainer back in 1996. It was pec deck, chest and tries, skip leg day.
Mm-hmm. Skip leg day was the big one.
And you weren't making friends.
No, I'm not making friends now because I really feel like the industry is just way too important to just say, you can do it that way or you can do it this way. It's really important to me to say, here's what the data actually shows. And a good example of that is if you look at the last 3 years of data and state of the industry, you'll see that more and more you see small group personal training or semi-private training cropping up, and suddenly they have the best profitability and they have the best revenue and they have the best retention. And it's not because I have a vested interest in promoting small group personal training as like the right way. I'm just revealing what the data says and helping people move to that model. And so this, in my mind, small group personal training is a good example of like a snowball that's growing out of truth. And as the big group classes struggle more and more, and they're competing against 12 different, row house and whatever in their city now, they're going away. But the small group are getting stronger and more powerful and more common. And, the irony is that this is basically what Greg started out with. And I just did not understand that when we affiliated in 2008.
So just so you guys know, we're talking about the state of the industry. It is out today from Two Brain Business. It is the largest curation aggregation of small gym data anywhere in the world. It's a worldwide collection of this data. In going to and there's a lot of really good news in here. And here's one of them. 70% of gyms teach big groups. Let me add this too on page 11 and 12. All gym types are up in revenue from last year. That's really good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love to hear that. But what you're saying is there's 70%, three quarters of the gyms are teaching big groups, but there's a lot of positive opportunity in small groups and one-on-ones. There's a lot of money to be made there and a lot of services to be offered there.
Yeah, there's a lot of help to be given. So what's most important is that if you're just running a big group class and your entry point is a free trial, what you're doing is shoving people out who are not comfortable exercising in front of strangers the first time. What you're hoping to get are people like you who can just walk into a gym of any kind and like throw down, and you're physically fit enough that you can try jujitsu tomorrow and you're not worried about getting embarrassed. That's not the majority of people out there. More and more is people who are obese, they are depressed. There's something limiting them. And so if you say like, oh yeah, come in and try a class, you're never going to hear from them again. So one-on-one gives you a private entry point for everybody, no matter what their goals are. And then if you offer one-on-one ongoing, there's a certain percentage of your population who would only want that option. Maybe they want the schedule flexibility. Maybe they've got unique circumstances. Maybe they just want some privacy. And if you don't offer that, you're telling all those people, you're not welcome. Like, conform to our model or, figure it out on your own. And so by offering one-on-one and large group, it's great for your revenue. Absolutely. Because those people are paying for it. It's great for your coaches to make more income, but also you're not pushing out the 10% of people who probably need you the most.
Let me ask you a question here. You're saying if you don't offer one-on-one, I was guessing that all gyms offer one-on-one, but maybe people don't know it's available. But either way, you're saying there's a ton of opportunity there being left on the table.
Still,
and what's the difference between offering and making it known?
Well, you have to have a consultative process with people. And this is one of the things that keeps drawing me back to MetFix is if you really want to apply MetFix effectively, using a prescriptive model is best, because somebody comes in, you talk about their goals, you measure their starting point. Wonderful. Here's what I think is best for you. But let's meet again within 90 days and make sure. And then you tweak the program and it just keeps getting better and better. If you don't have that model, then what you're selling is like an experience, right? And that's okay, but you're not necessarily solving the problem that they came in for, and you're not necessarily doing the job of a professional coach. If you're like running everybody through the same workout every day, that's probably okay for a percentage of your clients. It's not okay for everybody. And, I hate to say it, but like who you're competing with are these companies that are really selling choreography. Think of spin. Everybody is pedaling at the exact same rate at the exact same time, listening to bobbing their head at the exact same moment, right? That's choreography. If you go to a kid's karate class, it's choreographed. And that's not what we're selling when we're selling professional coaching. So if that is your model of everybody's doing the big group class and everybody has the same warm-up and the same workout, and that's all we're going to sell, you are going to be competing with these people who are selling choreography and can sell it very cheaply.
And going back to sorry, Sevan.
I was just going to say that's very descriptive.
Thanks.
Choreography. Yeah. That is good.
And if you compare to what Chris just talked about with the churn problem that we talked about at the very beginning of this, it also solves for that too, because ultimately with the semi-private or private training, or even just some sort of like data set and then goal setting meetings in a larger group class, if you wanted to start dipping your toe into that, is you're keeping that conversation going. And then therefore you're going to help with the retention, because if we have meetings and we're setting plans and we're showing them results in a word, you're gamifying it in a way that shows them, hey, look at your inputs, look at your outputs, look at your inputs, look at your outputs. Isn't this exciting? And you're meeting with me. It's more personal. They feel like a more personalized experience. Chances are you're going to extend the lifetime value of that customer, and that member is going to stick around for a lot longer, get more results. It's a win-win across the board.
Yeah. And, when I started, we weren't competing with all of these other kind of CrossFit derivative programs. We weren't competing with cell phones for attention, but now people chase novelty more than ever. And if you read like last month's Men's Health, their prescription for getting constantly varied functional movement performed at high intensity was to buy ClassPass and go to these 5 different gyms. And you're going to go to Row House on day 1, and you're going to go to Equinox, whatever, on day 2, and you're going to go to Stretch Lab on day 3. Well, that's not coaching. And if you come to my gym, my coach is going to say, you need to come to, our group coaching class at noon. Tuesday, you need to be doing this. Wednesday, you need to be doing some zone 2 on your own outside. Thursday, you're back in class. Friday, blah, like that is how we actually change people's lives. It's not this blanket recommendation to drop in at 5 different gyms every week. That's asinine.
Yeah. One of those gyms or one of those magazines recently, I think it was Men's Health or Men's Fitness, was also wrote this really long fluff piece on basically allowing people to start stuffing themselves with carbs again. Basically, they refer to nutrition as trends rather than what matters for your health. It was a crazy article, completely substanceless, but kind of like Big Brother telling you it's okay, go ahead, start stuffing yourself with refined carbs again. It's bad. And I'm like, holy shit.
Brought to you by General Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what people, if you've been in the industry for 10 years, what you start to see is this pendulum effect, right? Where the news has to write about something new and something different every day. And so, first it went all the way over to keto, and now it's like, let's go all the way back to high carb. Wait, maybe it's bad for you, and it'll just keep going back and forth. A good micro example of that is creatine. Is very, very popular. It's very promoted in the news right now. A year from now, I guarantee there will be people citing those same old mistranslated studies from 20 years ago saying creatine harms your kidneys, right? And it's just because the news cycle has to talk about something new and controversial every day.
These 76 millionaires, Chris, have you noticed a trend with them with doing individual and small group, that's a huge component to their success?
Yeah, so there's a growing percentage of small group only gyms in that cohort, but generally what you see is that they have a mix of big group and they have one-on-one offerings too. And so it's just, they can appeal to everybody. All those people are doing CrossFit, or all those people are doing the same method, but the way that it's delivered depends on what's best for the client.
Tell me the difference between a small group and a big group.
So small group is more like personal training. There's 2 types of small group training. So small group is, I've got 4 to 6 people. We're all doing the exact same workout, and it's framed as personal training with a couple of other people. Okay. Semi-private, you've got 4 to 6 people. each of those people are doing a different workout. So the coach will prescribe, they'll write me a program, they'll write you a program, they'll write Matt a program. We all meet up at 11 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and there's a coach, and the coach is going from one person to another. We're all doing our own thing, but we're doing it together. And you still get this sense of community. Like, we have semi-private at my gym. Big group is, we are going to put everybody into a room together. We're going to do the exact same movements for warm up. We're going to do the exact same movements. We might scale, or we might triage people who fall outside these guidelines. Their hips aren't getting low enough. Their knees are collapsing in, whatever. And it becomes this kind of industrial model, and it leans more into choreography because you just don't have time. If you're one coach and you got 25 people, right? Like, it's like, get in sync. With small group, 6 people, 4 people, you've got way more time to give individual feedback, correction, change their program, update this, scale up, scale down, and actually coach people. Now, some of this is framing, though. So, for example, one reason that big group CrossFit gyms struggle to sell small group training is because they've got small groups, right? They sell you this model, and it's like $150 a month because they think they're going to get 18 people into your noon class, but really there's 4. And so when they say, like, oh, small group personal training now, groups of 4 to 6, everybody in the new group says, well, that's what I've already got. Why is it twice as much now?
Right.
And it's just because the expectation of the owner, their original plan didn't actually pan out. So if you're doing that right now, you're running a big group training program, and you're like, oh man, how do I get to small group? How do I shrink my footprint? How do I, really focus or even highlight that we spend so much time with people? We recommend you start off by selling one-on-one, slowly put those one-on-one people together by introducing them one at a time, call it semi-private instead of small groups so that it's easier to differentiate, and slowly build that up. In other words, exactly what Greg did.
Oh, very interesting. And this ties back to what Souza was saying also. That seems like that would really help with retention.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I go to semi-private at Catalyst, usually like right now, 11 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so I'm just working on strength because most of my conditioning stuff happens on the bike. But the other people in the group, by the way, the rest of them are all women, very different age group. One woman joined the gym on her way home from dropping her mom off at the retirement home for the first time. Like, that's it. This is never happening to me. Another one is like this very adventurous athlete. She's maybe a year or 2 older than me. She's a bow hunter. She's super duper fit. A third one is somebody who's like, they're trying to get good at golfing. And there's another who's younger than all of us. She's just a busy mom of 3 that wants to stay in shape. So we've all got different goals. We're all working on different programs, but there's a lot of great conversation, high fives, go, go, go. If somebody's doing the plank, or if somebody's doing like a CrossFit style workout, like, they're getting all the cheers and support that you would in a big group. But it's just, it's more one-on-one training with personalized programming.
Can I address this real quick with the Rambler here?
Yeah, please.
Rambler, we're not ignoring the chat here. I've started some questions. We'll go over, but your incessive need to know. What are you going to call them and ask them for money? First off, Chris does talk about.
Yes, let me answer that, Susan. Yes, he is going to call them and ask them.
God, it would tell us Epstein files. It's like criminy, my guy. Listen, go sign up to the Two Brain Business blog in the emails. Every time someone gets introduced to it, Chris talks about it. He puts the plaque on there. You could go and you could probably pause the picture and you could read all the affiliates. You could call them and you ask them for $20, or you could put it in the chat and then we'll actually talk about your question, and that's how you get priority. Okay, criminy Rambler 2. Watch it, buddy. We're in a mood today. Okay. Sorry, guys. Go ahead. Come on.
What we do, Rambler, is like every month we publish the top 10 gyms in different categories, and then we interview them and get the top tips for you and share it on the podcast. So you don't even have to do all that extra homework.
There's actually 1,000 gyms that have made $1 million, or that have a worth of $1 million, but he's too humble to say 1,000, so we just say 76.
76 this year.
No.
And guys, I am focused on Chris here. If someone's pissed off, I'm not pulling up their comments. Like, come on, settle down. We're doing our best. Crying out loud.
It's okay.
I've already dropped 3 pencils, let alone try to read and talk to Chris and listen.
I've started good questions. So right at the end, we could go ahead and bring up like some good ones here.
Okay. Page 57, fewer gyms opening now.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Historically, there have been some huge, like data, or I don't know, places where gym owners come from, right? So we had in 2008, obviously 2009, CrossFit was taking off, but also we had this huge economic fucking downturn in the United States. And so there was this belief that a lot of people were like, fuck it, I'm going to change my passion. I've always wanted to be a gym owner. And people were like, screw it, I'm going to take my L1 and be a gym owner. And then, of course, there was this huge infiltration because of CrossFit being the greatest GPP program in the world. Our entire base was like first responders, military guys. And so they would be doing CrossFit. And then when they would get out of the military, they would open a gym. So we had like these, and then there was this stat, I can't remember, but it was like 1 out of every 9 people who takes the level 1 ends up opening an affiliate. So like we had markers and we had a base that was getting introduced to it. And so there was this constant, even though retention has never been a strong point of CrossFit for affiliates, there was always more coming in than were leaving. Would you say that was a good characterization? And then also kind of, we also had a little bit of an exodus. We were punished because of our own greatness, because people were building all of this fitness and then being like, hey, I'm going to switch to Spartan race, or I'm going to switch to Olympic lifting. People started realizing, oh, I'm capable of doing more. I'm going to start doing bow hunting. So I'm going to do jujitsu. So people started kind of leaving in that respect. This whole like second tier of, I don't know what trickle down effect happened. Do you agree with that characterization of the growth?
Yeah. And I think a lot of gyms make the same mistake. So there's lots of people coming in, therefore, they're not really paying attention to how many people are going out until those levels kind of equal. And then they start paying attention to retention. And I think early on, 2012, 2013, 2014, you were seeing that in some of the big cities. If they were the first CrossFit gym in, Dallas, or the first CrossFit gym in Atlanta, they had this massive influx and nobody cared about retention because there were always enough people coming in to replace the people going out and more. The first time I heard about a problem was 2012. And this group of about 13 gym owners down in Fort Lauderdale called and said, will you fly down and talk to us? We've got a retention problem. And, they had been doing different business coaching programs, but they made it very clear, like up till now, it was just really, really easy. And so we felt like we were good at business because people were just showing up and coming in, but now there's more going out. And, the same thing happened with CrossFit too. And unfortunately, what is the incentive to stick around and maintain your affiliation right now? Instead of, if you're successful, some of the top gyms are leaving and buying franchises, sadly. And if you're not, then you look at the affiliation as an expense and say, I can save the $4,500 and I can, just do this on my own brand. And sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. But, in general, if you're not adding more value to people over the long term, they're going to leave. They just run out of future. They can't visualize like, what is the next step in my personal growth with this brand?
And you nailed it. There was a parallel between HQ having trouble with retention and the gyms.
Yeah.
Like what is the motivation for people to stay? Like what kind of success do they need, or what do they stay? I didn't really understand this graph though, when it says also that the gyms are gyms opening at a slower rate. What do these numbers mean? I wasn't able to follow this graph.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things happening, right? So the fitness industry also swings on the pendulum. So what's interesting is that when the overall economy does worse, people start thinking out alternative income streams, and they might be looking for part-time jobs. And so historically, it would be like, I'm going to get a personal trainer job, or I'm going to get a waitressing job. Now it's more like a gig economy. So I'm going to go drive an Uber to make some extra money because I'm losing my third shift every week at the seal plant. Or it's like, what else do I do? Now, when CrossFit really boomed, 2008, there was all the stock market crisis and stuff. And later on, 2020, 2021, people were being, they were out of the service industry for a while. That's when they really started looking at alternatives. So every time there's an economic downturn, two things happen. And the first is like supplement sales go up because groceries are more expensive. And the second thing is that more people look at personal training certifications and coaching certifications. And then there's a long tail effect of that where people like me who've been a trainer for a while say, I'm only making 20 grand a year. I think I have to open a gym to actually make this a career, and that should follow. So my prediction is that the number of gyms opening up in the next 3 years will actually go up again. The one thing to note in our survey is that CrossFit is heavily represented. And if you go on the CrossFit website, or you did 6-7 months ago, you would see like the average cost to open a CrossFit gym was something like $120,000 to $160,000.
Wow.
That's 10x what I spent, you know.
Wow.
And I firmly believe you could open a CrossFit gym for $5,000 still. I firmly believe that.
Scroll back to the top a little bit. What do these numbers mean here, though? It says like 2025, 30 number of gyms. What is that 30? Survey respondents.
Oh, yeah.
Those
so
are
so this is how many people reported that 2025 was the year that they opened.
Oh, okay. In the survey.
Yeah. So
okay.
we do a big data poll with our partners at Wodify and Kilo with thousands and thousands of gyms. We also send out a survey, and it's usually more qualitative metrics like how do you feel about CrossFit, or how are you feeling as a gym owner? But in this case, we said like, when are you open? Because we couldn't get that data from the bigger data set.
Can you give an example of a $10,000? Like I have $10,000 and I want to start training people.
Yeah. So you buy the absolute basics, right? So you think like, what are people going to need? They're going to need to squat. They're going to need to hip hinge. They're going to need an upper body pull and upper body press. Well, if I buy a barbell and I buy like a, pull-up bar or something like that, and I make myself a plyo box. And if you go back to the garage gym articles on CrossFit Journal, it's like how to make a med ball, right? You get the pea gravel and the basketball and the expanding foam and the duct tape. Yep. I had those.
Yeah, I made those too.
Yeah, and you put this stuff in the back of your old, van, because I know you're a big Toyota van guy, Sevi.
Yeah.
You put that in the back of your van and you go to a city park. And when it gets too cold and it starts snowing, you start calling all the local churches and elementary schools. And so you say, can I rent your gym 3 nights a week? And you bring people in for boot camps. And, I doubt that even costs you $5,000. Do you need a business card? No, you probably need like a QR code now. And, do you need a website? Nah, you just gotta like have a phone and, and a way to collect money. I mean, in fact, when I opened in 2016, when I opened in 2005, I had $16,000 that a shareholder loaned me. You don't even need that now, right? Like you need a social media account. You need a very basic piece of equipment or two, and you need a kind of a hustle culture. And you can do this at night. You don't have to quit your day job. Like, get yourself 15 clients before you rent a space or before you take on any equipment. In worst case, you invest $5,000 and you've got a home gym for the rest of your life.
Right.
You really can't lose at this.
What's interesting is my wife, of all people, for a long time was training women out of the garage, and she didn't charge them, but they always left $10. And she didn't recruit any of them. It was just her just doing her mom shit that she does all day, taking care of the kids, and women coming up to her saying, hey, what do you do to stay in shape? And she's like, oh, you should come over to the garage. And I'll work out with you. And it was like 5 days a week, 1, 2, 3, 4 women, the least expected women I would ever imagine to come. And they loved it. She didn't charge, but they would always leave on my tool bench. I'd always see these stack of 10s building up.
Yep. And, my first gym, honestly, I had this rusty barbell. It lived in my truck. Even if it rained or snowed, it stayed in the bed of my truck. I had an old shopping cart that I would like put dead weight into for people to pull. And I would either meet people in the back parking lot of the treadmill store where I worked after work, or I would go to their house and train them. And, I would make an extra $400 to $500 a week that way. Almost no cost, it was my own bar. I probably should have paid somebody for that shopping cart. Or, so there'd be teenage athletes, and then I would say to their moms, What are you doing about your fitness? Oh, I could never join a gym, Chris. What equipment do you have at home? Well, I got a Bowflex and some stretch tubing. I can be there Tuesday, Thursday at 11 a.m. How does that work for you? And then you charge for coming to their house and doing it. I didn't have a gym, and then built up from there. Probably the first 8 years of my career as a personal trainer, I didn't even have a home base.
And hey, also the irony is there were like 10 people that used to work out with me from the park. They never paid me, but just people who would see me work out at the park. And I always worked out with them. And same with my wife. When my wife has these clients, I mean, I know that's not the model for like Souza's gym. You need eyes on people, but she would always work out with them. Pete Shaw, get in the park garage, rent some cheap corner in an existing gym and fucking grind. Vindicate, vndk8.com. My brother has run an affiliate for 12 years. I don't think he's ever bought a brand new piece of equipment. Everything is word of mouth and Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that too, don't underestimate just some PVC pipes and going around to the local like corporations or smaller businesses that have 30 or so employees nearby. Because if you go there and offer some free, and you could call it however you want it, I called it like low impact cardio, so it wasn't scary. But you could go there and you could start running some free classes to that, and you'll either pull members off it, or you might even end up getting some sort of contract with that business. So do not underestimate just a PVC pipe and a really good, like enthusiastic, positive attitude to show up at a park too, as well. Like people always go, it's kind of the same thing with media when they want to start. Oh, I want to start my social media. What camera and microphone should I buy? I'm like, it's the phone in your hand. Stop thinking.
Yeah, right.
I want to go running. What's the most expensive running shoes I could buy? Like, you don't need all of that. Just start.
Yeah. Wait till your feet hurt. Then to switch shoes. Okay. This is the State of the Industry Report, just released, 6th edition. All the data you could ever want to know about boutique gyms. If you are running a gym, you have to have this. If you're thinking about running a gym, you have to have this. And by when I say gym, I would say any kind of gym, jiu-jitsu gym, powerlifting gym, CrossFit gym, F45. It is the junk food for the brain of data. The greatest thing is Chris paid for all of this. So you don't have to pay for it. It's free online. There'll be links in the show notes and all that stuff. Okay. Page 21, paid ads versus referrals. So I'm the old school, right? Like, hey, just keep your head down and work, and someone will bring their mom in. And then as I've gotten to know Souza better and better, he's like, let me know, like, hey, you got to ask people about their moms. You got to be like, hey, where is your mom? Why don't you bring her to class? Bring her to class. Let's check out your mom and your dad, or where are your kids? But now, and Souza's also made this leap and had some huge success, paid ads. What are paid ads, and should everyone be doing
them? Yes, but not right away. So paid ads are when you give Facebook, Meta platforms, Google money to promote your brand in the algorithm. And
like to buy impressions or buy,
buy impressions,
yeah,
show up in the feed, right? And yeah, they are powerful, but all they can do is add gas to a burning fire. So if you're already good on social media, if you're already producing content like a podcast like this, or if you're already asking for referrals instead of just passively praying and hoping that people bring their mom, you're already doing all those things, adding paid ads will speed up the process. But like, they're not going to be a replacement for any of those. And as a standalone, they're very hard to make work and getting harder. Honestly, like, we run paid ads at my gym, but it's like a $5 a day budget. We're also extremely good at producing a podcast every week. And, we get a C+ on social media.
And Souza, do you want to chime in here about anything in regards to paid ads? Like the importance of the content
position to even, I would say most gyms aren't even in a position to probably go down. They're probably just burning a lot of money and not really But yeah, you don't, like, most gyms probably should not go down the paid ads route. There's probably a lot of other boxes that they need to check prior to that. And one of the things I talked about at Affiliate Con and really, really pushed in terms of social media is associations with other small businesses. Like, the real estate strategy is you become this like tour guide of your city where you know everybody, you know the best places to eat, you know where to go if you have an open Saturday, and then you kind of showcase that through your social media. That's what a gym needs to be doing, but as a local health expert. So if you do that at your farmer's market or other restaurants that have great foods, great ingredients, get to know those owners, build associations through your social media that way before you start to venture down the paid ads. And 2 reasons. Number one, you're actually making a local impact. So the people that you're reaching are there and could come to your actual gym, right? Sometimes when you do stuff in social media, it spans too far and you might get views, but those people aren't going to walk through the door. Number 2, you're also going to figure out how and what of the social media, what's attracting people's attention, and how do I create more of that? Then once you have those down, you could kind of start to put some dollars behind it. But until you do those 2 things, I definitely wouldn't recommend a gym just go right to the paid ad space.
I like how Chris said a $5. What did you say? $5 a day budget?
$5 a day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's more than enough now, unless you live in like a major city where people are bidding against you. But if you're talking about getting leads in the door, that's great. I just want to share this with you guys. While we were talking, I got a text from my coach for my semi-private session that's going on right now next door to my gym saying, "Hey, Coop, just checking in. Where are you?" Like that's coaching.
Hey.
I forgot to tell her I wasn't going to be there.
Yes.
So like, you're not going to do that with a big group because you have to keep eyes on them, right? It's like herding cats, and like, you don't have the same people every day. And so you're not really sure who's there and who's not. And like if you did, it would take 20 minutes of your time to do that. But this is one great reason semi-private and small group is so effective. Like if I'm not there, they're going to call me out on it 15 minutes into the session. And the other people in the group are going to text me too. So,
hey, I like it too that I don't like it when people say this. I know you're busy. I'm going to keep this short. Thank you for your time. Where are you? Listen, you jackass. Just where are you? I like that. Hey, where are you? I mean, like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you?
She did a little flexi emoji too, but that's it.
Nice.
She should have put an emoji of a sissy. Really?
Well, that's me anyway, so I don't get offended.
I want to go back to the paid ads. But your Souza might. I feel like Souza's pushing back on you a little bit. You guys are saying paid. Weren't you saying in the book, as I recall, that it's important to do paid ads? And Souza says, "Hey, you got to get some boxes checked before you do paid ads." I know it's very sexy and sounds fun.
Order of execution, right? Like if you are good at asking for referrals and you can turn every new client into 2 new clients over time, then your paid ads are getting you double the bang for your buck. And if you're good at social media, your paid ads will attract attention to your social media channel, and people will be like, "Oh, I like you," or "I don't like you." And if you're good at creating content, which was, CrossFit's media play, then people are just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into that content, as we talked about earlier. And the thing is, like, I know there's viewers on here who like don't like me and whatever, but I don't care if you like me or don't. Do the right thing for your gym and look at actual data and facts and then make decisions. It's not about what I recommend. It's about what this data reveals that can help you.
I've never met anyone who doesn't like you, by the way. I mean that.
Thank you.
And I know both of you have met people who don't like me. That hurts.
Well,
and that hurts a little bit. That hurts a little
bit.
Sevi, at the Rogue Invitational, I saw more Sevan Podcast t-shirts than I ever have before. You're a growing phenomenon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
See you alive.
Make my one.
I will tell you, Mo.
I feel like go ahead, Souza, please.
No, I was just gonna say one thing I also want to put on the paid ads, which also it kind of encompasses everything Chris has been talking about here, is you also have to have some sort of offer. Like if you just put out a paid ad, most people just go to discounting their service, which I do not recommend. And the other thing with that is like you have to have some sort of process once you bring them in. So like, what is the offer? You can't just sell a membership. You have to sell usually some sort of result, right? Like, hey, what are you looking for this? Are you this person? We can help you with this. And then to have the process in which you actually have that conversation, that one-on-one with them. Because if you're just putting something out there and you're doing like, 3 days for $3, 14 days for $14 or something like that, you're just chasing the churn. Because a lot of those people that come in, maybe they'll stick around for past that trial in a month or 2, or maybe they won't. And then you just have to keep kind of recycling that same thing, as opposed to if you have some sort of really good offer for them, like, hey, come get your blood work done. Hey, we're going to do an in-body scan. Hey, we're going to do a mobility test. We're going to look at that data. Then we're going to put together a roadmap for you over success over the next 90 days to help you get the result that you're looking for. That's more enticing than just, $14 for 14 days.
I'm guessing you really don't want that person either.
No, because they're going to see another ad that says $13 for 14 days, 5-minute abs, and they're gone.
Yep. Those are the class pass people.
Yeah, that's interesting. If you attract people who are chasing just the lowest amount of money, as opposed to not that there's a problem with giving people deals, but if you're attracting those people as opposed to people who want results, the first one's not sustainable. I can't always be having you in here at a loss, but I can always make you fitter, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
So you're promising something that really you can't do.
Eventually, maybe this has happened to you, Matt. I think it happens to every gym owner at some point. Is you're coaching this class and there's 2 people in it, and you just can't stop yourself from doing the math of what am I actually earning per hour here? And the answer is never good. If you're doing that math, it's not enough. And
go look at McDonald's.
What is that math, Chris? So you have 2 clients, they pay $200 a month. They're both in the class, so that's $400. And you assume that they're each doing, and so you divide that $400 by the 20 classes you offer them a month, and you're making $20 an hour. And then you realize the electricity and what?
Yeah. I said subtract your expenses now on top of that.
Yeah, minus the electricity, the toilet paper. They're in the bathroom for 15 minutes and you're like, shit, they just use $8 worth of toilet paper. Like you're like, oh my God. They come in with muddy feet and you're like, shit, that's going to be $3 of cleaning fluid on the floor.
Well, it doesn't get that deep, but you're kind of painting the best case scenario. What's more likely to happen is somebody is buying an unlimited membership for $135 a month, coming 16, 17 times a month, paying about $8 every time they're there. And with 2 people in the class, you're like, I'm only making $15 an hour right now. But if I pay somebody else to run this class for me, I'm going to lose money on it.
You're subsidizing.
You are. Yeah, you are subsidizing their fitness. Just like a lot of gym owners are subsidizing the landlord's mortgage, and we're all subsidizing the government's broken health policies by paying, being profitable and whatever. But, what happens there is you get into this mindset trap. I cannot afford to lose this client. I need their $135 a month. So I can't cancel this class, but I can't afford to pay anybody else to run this class. And I'm earning $15 an hour to run this class. What do I do? And that's exactly the spot that most gym owners are finding themselves in 5 or 6 times a day with different things that are going on. I know it's wrong. It's not working. I don't think I can afford to do anything else. And when they finally realize, I don't have a choice but to change, that's when they talk to a mentor to help coach them through the change. Just like your clients are coming in after a late night where they ate a pint of, Rocky Road ice cream. They're like, this is not sustainable. I hate myself. I'm eating to feel better. Something has to change. What do I do? I need a coach. I need help. And, it's the same thing in business and in fitness.
They say the darkest part of night is right before the sun comes up, which brings us to page, I didn't write the page number down. Caleb, I think it's like somewhere between page 27 and 32. November and December are the worst month for getting clients, and January is the best month.
Yeah. No surprise there. I don't think, for most people, especially, keep in mind that this data set does skew towards the US. And so you've got this kind of black month there between Thanksgiving and Christmas when people find it really easy to say, I'm not going to start right now. This is the worst month of the year to maintain fitness. I'm going to start in January, and so it's really hard to get new clients in that time period. And easy to lose clients too, because their bills are going up. I should just put this gym membership on hold, and then I can afford that Lululemon wristband for my kid,
Through Two Brain, are there best practices to launch on January 1st? It sounds like that's a huge opportunity then to not squander. Maybe have your gym the cleanest, or that's when you run the paid ads, or it seems like if there's the most customers out there, that's also the time to execute on the widest opening of your funnel.
Yeah. So the best play is to stop the clients leaving first so that you're not starting in the hole in January. So what you want to do, between like now and December is have like special things that'll keep them engaged through January. Then you want to capture some of the people who will be joining in January early. So you say like, hey, we're only taking 10 new people in January, click here to save your spot. And basically they're paying for their on-ramp in advance. Or you've got somebody who says, oh, I'm joining a gym in January, hold me to it. Well, now their friends can see that, there's their Christmas present taken care of. I can pay for some personal training at that gym. So you want to make those opportunities available. And this actually helps the client because now they really are committed to starting in January, financially, not just mentally. So you can capture some of those clients early. A lot of gyms are going to be advertising for joiners in January, right? And instead of like fighting that noise, you advertise, save a space right now. There's other things that you can be doing right now too. So for example, like you could have a Christmas list of like top 10 gifts for the CrossFitter. And we started doing this like 2011. And on that list, you put links to a couple things like what's the liquid bandage or whatever we all used to use all the time. But you also put like, here's a t-shirt from Catalyst, or here's 5 personal training sessions, click here. And what you're doing there is you're giving your clients a list, their Christmas list, to share with their family and friends, because their family and friends don't know what the hell to buy them. Like, what do I buy this person creatine? And what's happened a few times in my gym is like a well-meaning husband will buy his wife a treadmill. You love working out so much, you should just do it at home. And of course, she doesn't like the treadmill, but she's not going to not use it. And it winds up her quitting the gym, the thing that she loves. Instead, if the husband knew like, hey, here's how you could buy her the Catalyst hoodie, the toque, and 5 personal training sessions, he could have bought that and she would have loved it. So that's how you kind of like bridge that revenue gap. There's also some stuff that you should be doing while people are traveling. And so number one is like, you got to get a swag order going. We recommend Forever Fierce, but you have to tell people.
What you recommend? What?
Forever Fierce. It's a merch company that just does it all for you. We've been working with them for a decade. Anyway, what you have to do is like preempt their reasons for quitting. Okay, so they're going to have an objection to working out at your gym over the holidays because of travel, because of poor habits. They're going to be drinking and partying more. They need to save money. Well, those are the same objections they have when they're coming in to sign up, right? I'm too busy. I don't have time. I don't have the money. You have to preempt them in your current clients. So the podcast I recorded literally before getting on this show for my clients was like how to stay on track over the holidays. And it was like, maintain your protein intake, maintain your water intake, try and maintain your bedtime. If you break any one of those rules, get right back on it the next day. If you're traveling, call us and we will give you a hotel route workout to follow. If you're traveling to another 2Brain gym, call us. Here's the map and we will pay for your drop-in fees to go there. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And so we frame it as like, hey, this is a very dangerous time of year to your fitness, but as long as you don't like completely break your cycle, you're good. And here's how to do it.
Hey, what about, I worked at a home for disabled adults for 5 years, and every Christmas, everyone would go home, and I worked every Christmas. I worked all the holidays, January, Christmas, just whatever, Easter, like when all the other people wanted to go home or had things to do. And I loved my job. I love everything I do. And what about keeping your gym open for a Christmas class? Is that a litmus test for a gym owner who's like, I'm closing on Christmas because it's Christmas Day? Then is it like, I'm thinking to myself, dude, don't you fucking love that place? Like, and aren't those your family and your lifeblood? Why not just do fucking one class on Christmas morning? Like, just tell your family, hey, I'm going to be gone from 7 to 9 and then I'll be back, but I'm doing this, and even invite your family there. Do you think that that's a litmus test should a gym be open on Christmas? If I belong to a gym, I think I would go on Christmas.
Broadly, you want to be open when your clients are available. And so, for us, there were probably the first 15 years we were open on Christmas and we'd have a workout. And then those crowds just got smaller and smaller to the point of like, actually, you should just rest because we're going to rest.
Okay.
And then what happened instead was we would say like, rest on Christmas, enjoy your family, recover some, serenity. Boxing Day, we're going to have a banger. And we did Boxing Day Murph for probably 12 years.
What's Boxing Day? The day after Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So the 26th, we would do Murph and we would be running in the snow and the gym would just get trashed with slush and mud. And we would get, 60, 70 people showing up to do Murph all at the same time. And it was amazing. So you got those opportunities. Probably also like if you don't want to open up on a holiday, let's say it's New Year's Day, because you want to be with your kids, that's fine. But you probably have a staff person who wants to. So, there's a couple of different factors at play here. Number one, like, do your clients actually want to be there? Number two, do you have a staff person that's willing to work? Or three, like, do you love it enough that you want to be there yourself? For the first few years, for me, it was like, I love it enough. The second was I have staff. And then the third, finally, it was like, most of my clients are not coming on Christmas anyway. Why am I here?
I recently was engaged with someone in this conversation, although I don't know if they heard the same conversation that I did, but like, there's things that like I view as an honor to be doing and other people view as work. And I forget that, and it trips me out. Like, holy shit, there's no, like, when I'm doing something, when I'm on a podcast, there's nowhere I'd rather be, but oh shit, there's some people that actually would rather be somewhere else. Like, they don't see this as like the fucking greatest, the great, like, what a great opportunity. And so I guess maybe I'm projecting, because I like, not working out on Christmas seems like a non-negotiable. Of course I want to work out on Christmas. It's like one of my favorite things to do. That's the last day I want to miss, is Christmas Day.
Yeah, it depends on your gym. And this is why we recommend the gym owners just release your calendar quarterly, because things change over time. Your audience changes, your clientele changes, you change, your coaches change. And so, you don't want to commit to doing Christmas Day Murph as a tradition where you're leaving your family at home at 8 a.m., going to the gym for 2 hours and opening for 2 people either.
Can we have are you, just a little bonus question on the 7th edition? Are you open on Christmas?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
And by the way, like, I have staff who don't celebrate Christmas and they would work, but we don't have a large enough body of clients who would show up and work out on Christmas. So we just don't do it.
All right.
Yeah. We were open on quite a bit of all the holidays too early on. And then to Chris's point, it just dwindled. And then it got to the point where, like, you're here and you're kind of like, okay, well, maybe one person shows up, maybe 2 people show up. But one of the things we also do is during the holidays, something that you can do with it is, like, Thanksgiving and stuff like that. We do like a big turkey trot, or like anybody could come meet at this park.
Fun.
So then that way you can invite everybody whose family's in for the holiday, kind of introduce them to the ones that are traveling there, make it to where the kids could also show up and kind of run around. There's no equipment. It's really easy to handle one really big group, and people really like that. So there's also ways to, like, add that value, show that you care, show that you want to be there more than any place else, with making it still make sense for your members and for the value of, like, your time.
There's a lot of elements there.
Natalie Fleming, I usually offer an open gym or a class on the major holidays with the mindset that maybe people don't have somewhere to go, and I usually have a decent turnout.
Great point, Natalie. Absolutely. And, there's a lot of, college kids who will come home for holidays and they want to train. And if you've got some kind of community workout that's easy and scalable, wonderful. We just ran into roadblocks where, somebody would be home. I love CrossFit so much, I do it. And they're going to bring their sister, best friend, mom, and it's their first ever CrossFit workout. And we're doing Boxing Day Murph. Right. And so it's like, well, you can come, but not you. And it just became this chaos. And honestly, at one point, it was like, our own members couldn't come, from 2020 to 2022. There were only a limited number of spaces. And if you give that space to a stranger, your own member can't come. Right. And so finally, it just became simpler to do what Natalie's suggesting, have like a group workout. We do something that's called the 12 Days of Christmas on Christmas Eve. We do like 1 or 2 classes. They're massive, and that's it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like massive. Speaking of massive, Jenny's feedbacks, then work out at your house on Christmas. Don't force other people away from their families because you hate Christ. Listen, Jesus is always invited. Jesus is always invited to the gym. What are you talking about? You're so close-minded. Jesus is like, gee.
There's some leaps.
Jesus, yeah, I know. He's massive. Wow. Jesus needs to work out. All the renditions I've seen of him, he looks scrawny as shit. You get some pull-ups then. Probably could have added a few days to his life.
My goodness. My
goodness. I know there's some crazy number out there of the people who do the Two Brain business mentorship. Isn't there some crazy stat like 8 and 10 or something have an uptick in revenue and profit?
Oh yeah. I don't have the exact number in front of me. Everybody.
But it's a no-brainer to do a two-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody gets an uptick in revenue and profit. The some people get like an 8x ROI right away because they're quick to take action and they repeat those actions over and over and over again, just like fitness, right? Like some people will get fit more slowly because they'll drag themselves to the group and they'll miss their appointments and they'll, drag their ass through the workout and they won't go at it hard enough. Okay. And then there's some people who will sign up and then just refuse to do anything. And it's just like in your gym, right? Unfortunately, what you hear is the people who refuse to do anything are quite often the first to complain. And that's going to be true in your gym. You've probably all got like a 1-star review in your gym from somebody and you're like, who is this person? But yeah, the people who show up and do the work at Two Brain get amazing results. Like our target, the way that we even set our investment pricing is like, we want everybody to get 2x what they put in. And so that's how we actually choose what program and what tactics they use in their first year.
Hey, I thought of a great example in my life. So my son has started doing some video editing and he's been storing the footage on his computer. And I keep telling him, hey, the first thing you need to do every time is put the footage on an external hard drive. Do not put it on your computer. You're going to fill your computer up. It's going to slow your computer down and fuck your shit up. And he didn't listen to me. And last night he's like whimpering in front of his computer. My computer says the disk is full. I'm like, have you been putting it into your external hard drive? He goes, no, it's too many extra steps. and then we spent 2 hours moving the footage around afterwards. Of course, I ended up having to do it. But those are the lessons at Two Brain. Like, hey, like you think you're going to jump ahead and do this, and this, but it's going to cause this problem later. That's going to make everything much, much worse.
Mm-hmm. The secret goal is to make better gym owners. When we say that we're a gym mentorship company, and that's mostly true, but the reality is that we're trying to train the gym owners to focus, to develop the habits that will actually grow their gym, because I'm not going to be with them for 30 years. My mentor worked with me for about 1.5 years, and then I moved on to a different mentor. But my gym has just celebrated its 20th anniversary, and it's because I learned those skills. I internalized them by journaling about them. I practiced them because I was sharing them publicly and people would call me on it if I didn't. By the way, my members were reading my blog too. So if they didn't have like a goal review every 3 months, they'd be like, why did you write that? I've never had that. Right. So I had to be truthful.
Wow. That's good shit.
But what that all did was make me a better entrepreneur. And from being a better entrepreneur, that's why I'm able to still have a gym 20 years later and, built the biggest mentorship practice in the world for gym owners, because I learned skills. And that's what we're trying to actually secretly convey to gym owners who are in our program.
Do you love what you're doing, Chris?
1,000. Oh yeah. Every day. I seek out opportunities to coach. We have 1,000 gyms in Two Brain all the time. There's 63 mentors on the team. We work one-on-one. So I'm constantly coaching. I'm constantly coaching gym owners in our groups. I'm constantly coaching the mentors on our team, our staff on our team. And still, when I, am riding my bike with my friends, we're talking about business. And when, my son comes for lunch on Mondays, we're talking about business. And when I'm barbecuing at my cottage and my nephews are over and we're talking about business, and like, that's what happens. And I love it. I love coaching people and I love talking about business too, and fitness.
Joe Nels, it's easily been 5x the investment. Started in May and it's only getting easier and more profitable. Thanks, wait for the call. What's crazy is nice. I chat with Joe once in a while. We text back and forth. And I can see, like, in the last year, his mood. I mean, he was always an upbeat, positive guy, but his mood definitely in the last year is like skyrocketing. Like, he's pumped.
Congrats, Joe. You've earned it, man. That's what makes me proudest is when somebody's successful, I can always say you've earned it, because there's no easy, I'll do this for you answer in business. I can tell you what to do. I can call you and ask you why you didn't do it, but ultimately you have to do it. And so when somebody says, I did it, I know all the praise goes to them. So congrats, Joe.
Right. That's awesome. You had your gathering, the Two Business, what do you call it? The summit. Yep. And you had it in Chicago the last 2 years.
Yep. And
what month is that in?
It's in June. This year it'll be in Chicago again, but we're in a bigger venue because the last 2 years we sold out with 1,000 people. So 1,500 this year will be at the Hyatt in Rosemont.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks. Awesome.
And again, would love to have you.
Chris, where do people sign up? Did he free?
TwoBrainSummit.com.
Okay, twobrainsummit.com.
Yeah, we try to bring in some speakers from outside the industry, and then our mentors actually compete to get on stage. They work with speaking coaches, etc. There's a few of these out there now, and some are good, but we want to make sure that every single speaker is amazing, and they're going to work with you to do the work, not just tell you stories and stuff. That's my job. I get to tell the stories.
Anything that you thought, oh, I got to get this out when I'm on the show? Any
So
stories or something you want to get out?
So people who are really digging into this data, and it just went live this morning, so I know I'm going to get a lot of these questions, is gym revenue is going up, gym profits are going up, coach pay is not. Coach pay is actually going down. What the hell? Did every gym owner just suddenly get greedy? The reality is that the coach pay tends to follow a long tail effect. So the most successful gyms bring their revenue up and then think about, okay, now what can I afford to pay coaches? The weaker gyms will say, how much do I want to pay coaches? And then panic because they don't have the revenue to do it and they're doing it anyway. So it's coming out of their own paycheck. So my prediction, because I've never met a greedy gym owner in my life, my prediction is that next year you're going to dramatically see coach wages go up. When we talk about professionalizing the industry, it's not just about getting certifications, learning things. It's about earning a professional wage so that you can stay in the industry long enough to actually help people. And I think like that is going to be what we see in the next 2 years. That's my prediction. Coaches earning way more money.
Let me piggyback off of that. What advice do you have for people? I know you're in the business of giving mentorship to people who own gyms. What advice do you have for people who work at gyms? I'm a 23-year-old kid. I have my L1. I've been doing CrossFit since I've been 16. What advice do you have for them in order to add value to help where they work?
So the first is just ask the owner, like, how can I make more money doing this? If somebody had told me that.
How to make more money or how to add more value?
Yeah, it's one and the other, right?
Okay.
So if you really want to be clear, say to the owner, how do I make more money? And they're going to say, well, you add more value. And then if you say to the owner, how do I add more value? They're going to be like, great. And if you do this, you can make more money. Like if I had done that when I was 30 and working as a personal trainer and making $19,000 a year, I would have asked the owner of the studio, like, how do I make twice as much money at this? And he probably wouldn't have known. But I would have gone out and sought out that answer on my own. A good owner might have said like, well, Chris, your book is full. You've got 54 personal training clients every single week. Like, let's combine them into 2-on-1, right? Let's run a group class instead of doing 1-on-1 all day. And I would have actually evolved my career to the point where I was still working on his platform instead of competing with him. So if you're a personal trainer and you're listening to this right now, you don't have to just jump to opening a gym. The first thing that you want to do is something that I learned from Greg, which is you pick 2 of your clients and you talk to each one individually and you say, you're doing amazing. The only way that you could progress faster is if I give you a training partner to train with. I've got somebody with similar goals. You're slightly better than them at some things. They're slightly better than you at some things, and you're going to pull each other up. Would you like to try a session, the 2 of you together? And if you hate it, we can go back to this. That's how you go from 1-on-1 to 1-on-2. And you basically double the value of your time as a personal trainer without adding more time in your day. And then from there, over time, you can go to 1-on-3 and 1-on-4, but you don't need to jump straight to group classes. The second thing is like you can use a lot of tools online that I didn't have available to me now. So you could say to the client, I'm going to give you a workout to do, and I'm going to give you a basic diet to follow. Now, how much coaching I give you is up to you. If you want 2 appointments a week and that's it, here's the price. If you want 4 appointments a week and that's it, here's the price. If you want 4 appointments plus accountability, I'm happy to invest that much time into you, and here's the price. And we can do whatever you want for the next 3 months, and then we're going to revisit and make sure you're getting best results. And you can leverage all kinds of tools to help them that doesn't require more of your time, right? So you could use automated check-ins. You could sell supplements if you want to, if you think it's important. You could sell courses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would leverage myself better if I was, giving advice to a 1-on-1 trainer now.
God, that's so much more positive and optimistic than how I would have handled that. I don't know. I would have been like, listen, you piece of shit, just cause less friction in the business. Are you fucking kidding me? You can't even make it here 7 days without calling in sick. The other day, Spotify stopped working and you couldn't fucking pivot and yell at the class and be like, today you're going to hear my voice. You don't keep the energy up. You bring in your own fucking, you're so much more positive than me. Wow.
Well, let me give you a framework for that. So instead, you proactively meet with the coaches in your gym and you say, what do you want? Has that changed in the last 6 months? You want to earn more money? Wonderful. Here are 3 ways you can earn more money: personal training, nutrition coaching, start a sports-specific program. That's where you want to get to. Here's where you're starting from. I've noticed that your energy is not very high in class. If you're going to coach kids, you got to bring that up to a 10. So over the next month, let's focus on that. And that's how you create a framework for improving your staff, but also giving them more opportunities.
I don't, Souza, do you want to chime in here before I go to Seth? I'm sure you got something here.
No, I completely agree with Chris. And in fact, we just started with this week. When we do our coaching development, it actually starts with a list of stuff where we ask them how we could support them better, and then we move into the conversation of how we can improve the classroom experience. Because when you lead with that way of like, hey, you've been doing a great job, like what things can we provide you more support with? What type of equipment are we seeing? What type of roadblocks or any issues are you experiencing on the floor when you're coaching? Great. We go through those. We figure out how we can address them. And then we move to the conversation of like, okay, awesome. Like, here's what we're seeing from it. Here's what we want to improve these markers. So that way it's a two-way street. You're not just coming at them with like, hey, we need to do this, 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 and this better. Then they're going to go, well, every time I show up, the classroom isn't set up and no one's doing this. So leading with asking them first, like, hey, how could we as management or the owner support you? So in turn, you could give a better experience to our members. Then moving into the conversation of what they need to do to kind of elevate that experience on their end typically goes much better. And you get a much more it leaves people like positive, like, this is awesome. They're investing into me. I really want to go to bat for you now. I really want to elevate the member experience, as opposed to just kind of like shitting on them right off the bat. And then like, oh, well, I thought I was doing a great job, and now this sucks. And then the last caveat to that is do it frequently and do it often. Really, a lot of times coaches and or affiliate owners or managers won't have these conversations with staff until they get frustrated or until something wrong, like something like catastrophically goes wrong, and they're like, that's it, we need a coaches meeting, we need to focus on this. And that's not the right time to do it. And so if you make it just part of something you guys do, feedback on the floor, formal feedback, informal feedback, surveying your coaches as to what you could do better, it opens the door for that two-way street to happen all the time. And you don't get yourself into a position where you're really frustrated by something and acting out of like anger or frustration, as opposed to just generally trying to say, hey, how can we improve individually and as a total?
So speaking about, go ahead, Chris, go ahead.
They should know the date of their next meeting. Like Matt said, when I started out, I would only call a meeting with them when I was really mad. And so before that meeting, I would be all stressed, and they would know that they did something wrong. So they'd be all defensive, and instead, if they know like, okay, your next review date is going to be December 11th, they know that you're not coming into it angry,
Hey, yep. I do my kids like that for every, I'm saying, like, if I'm in the garage and I call them in there, 9 out of 10 times I call them in there, it's because I want to show them something funny that's on the TV, or I want to give them a gift or something. And then that 10th time is like, oh shit, I'm doing 50 burpees for time. So because they come running in there. Do you know what I mean? It's just Pavlovian. And it's the same thing. Give your kid constant feedback, praise. And then when you give them the negative feedback or something that you're critical of, they take it like a champ. I'm more along the Seth jump ship thing, but shit, I don't own an affiliate. Don't ask me. Take initiative in any way you think of and show me you care. I'll end up giving you preferential class schedule and other additional opportunities. And I think what Chris and Souza are saying is, have a meeting with them, once a month or once a week, where you say that. You can even call a meeting and say, don't ask me, but then you're still being proactive. You can say, hey guys, I reward people who take initiative. So like when if you're the coach and you walk in and you're on your cell phone and you walk by 3 cigarette butts and the trash can's knocked over outside, you didn't realize you were on the clock and you didn't pick that up. And I see that.
The challenge is that like what they think is being proactive might not be what you think is being proactive. Just like your kid's version of a clean bedroom is not your version of a clean bedroom.
Right.
It's impossible to see inside their head. So I'll give you an example. This morning, a tire shop calls my wife, and this guy, he's working the phones at 8 a.m. and he's getting people to book their snow tires. And so in his mind, he's being proactive, but he was a total dick and will never buy snow tires from him again. And so the owner of the company is like, wow, that's a bad salesperson. And he thinks he's doing a great job because he's being so proactive and he's working so hard and he's talking to all these jerks that he obviously hates all day, right? So you really have to spell out like what success means to you and give them like actionable steps, so simple that an 8-year-old can understand them.
My wife thinks that the kid's bedroom is clean when the 12 stuffed animals are organized nicely on the bed. I walk in there, I'm like, those all need to be thrown away.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
two different expectations?
Yeah, totally.
That's right.
Totally.
Definitions of success.
Chris, we got to have you on here more often. Thank you so much.
It's always an honor to be invited. Thank you. I'm glad to see the Sevan brand growing even in Aberdeen this weekend at the Rogue Invitational, because I really do think you're, one of very few common threads that's kind of keeping the community together and passionate. And so thank you for that.
Thank you. We absolutely love it. I'm so, some nights I have to force myself to go to sleep because I'm so excited to do the show every morning. I absolutely love being here. I love all the people in the chat. Even Ken Walters. I love him even. That's exactly what my one-on-one trainer did after 18 months, then got 3 of us together, then 2 years. It's a group class. The rest, 9 years later, is history. Hey, same with my kids' jiu-jitsu. They started a special class on Saturday mornings for my 3 boys. And now it's become like the special class that if you're serious about jiu-jitsu, you get to come into that class. And now that class has grown. And it doesn't bother me either because I know they've curated that around my kids wanting to perform at the highest level. That's funny. I never thought of that. Yeah.
And that's coaching.
Yeah.
That's good coaching.
Yep.
All right. Love you, dude.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations on the 6th edition. Absolutely wonderful. What a great gift. Everyone, it's free online. There'll be a link in the show notes or head on over to Two Brain and you can find it. Tell Mike Warkentin and the gang at Two Brain, we absolutely love them. It's so easy dealing with you guys always.
Always. Yes.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. Ciao.
Thank you, guys.